As we grow older, our bodies begin to experience a wide range of physical, hormonal, and metabolic changes. These changes aren't just surface level, they go deep into how we digest food, absorb nutrients, and respond to various substances we ingest on a daily basis. For people over the age of 60, every dietary decision carries more weight than it did in their younger years. It's no longer just about staying slim or having good energy, it's about protecting heart health, preserving brain function, maintaining stable blood sugar, and reducing inflammation. That's why nutrition experts like Barbara O'Neill, a well-known Australian health educator and naturopath, emphasize the importance of mindful eating, especially in your senior years. And in this context, one of the biggest surprises for many is the fact that not all vegetables are necessarily good for you. Yes, you read that right. While vegetables are almost universally promoted as healthy, and rightly so in most cases, not all of them are suitable for older adults. In fact, some vegetables that are commonly praised in the mainstream media for their nutrient density may actually worsen certain health conditions when consumed regularly by seniors. This doesn't mean vegetables are bad, it simply means that the body's needs, sensitivities, and digestive capabilities change with age, and what once benefited you may now pose a problem. Seniors need to approach vegetables with a little more awareness, considering how specific types affect inflammation, gut health, kidney function, and thyroid performance. Barbara O'Neill has spent years educating people across the globe about the healing power of food, but she also cautions against blindly following generic advice. According to her, the dietary needs of seniors require special care and personalization, and a critical part of this includes identifying foods that can trigger hidden inflammation, disrupt hormonal balance, or aggravate chronic conditions. Unfortunately, many people continue eating certain vegetables simply because they have always been labeled healthy, unaware that these very foods might be contributing to persistent fatigue, joint pain, gut discomfort, or even poor cardiovascular health. To truly understand why certain vegetables should be avoided in the later years of life, we first need to understand how the senior body processes food differently. One of the major factors is slower metabolism. As metabolism slows down, digestion becomes less efficient. Enzymes are not produced at the same levels, bile production might decline, and overall gut motility reduces. This means seniors are more likely to experience bloating, constipation, or indigestion, particularly when consuming foods that are hard to digest or contain natural toxins. In younger years, the digestive system is often strong enough to deal with such foods, but after 60, the body loses some of that resilience. Another important aspect to consider is inflammation. Chronic inflammation is the root of many age-related diseases, including arthritis, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, and even cancer. Many seniors unknowingly eat vegetables that trigger or worsen inflammation, thinking they're doing something good for their body. Barbara O'Neill emphasizes that controlling inflammation is not just about avoiding processed foods or sugar, it's also about choosing the right kinds of vegetables, those that are alkaline-forming, rich in anti-inflammatory compounds, and low in irritants like oxalates or lectins. Let's also talk about kidney health, which is often overlooked in dietary discussions. After age 60, the kidneys naturally become less efficient at filtering waste and balancing electrolytes. Certain vegetables, especially those high in potassium or oxalates, can overload the kidneys, increasing the risk of kidney stones or other complications. Barbara points out that many older adults eat large quantities of superfoods like spinach or beets without realizing they are also super high in oxalates, which can lead to urinary problems, kidney strain, and mineral imbalances. Then there's the issue of thyroid function. The thyroid gland plays a critical role in regulating energy levels, metabolism, and even mood. As people age, thyroid issues become more common, particularly hypothyroidism, which affects millions of seniors worldwide. Some vegetables, particularly when eaten raw, can actively suppress thyroid activity due to substances called goitrogens. Without understanding this, a senior might increase their intake of raw kale or cabbage in an effort to be healthy, only to experience worsening fatigue, cold intolerance, and weight gain. Barbara O'Neill encourages seniors to see food not just as fuel, but as medicine, and just like any medicine, the dose and the type matter. What works wonders for a 30-year-old may not work the same way for someone in their 60s, 70s, or 80s. Seniors should not just follow the crowd or the latest health trend. Instead, they need to understand the unique responses of their own bodies, especially when it comes to certain common vegetables that may not be as beneficial as they seem. The other critical element to consider is how gut microbiota change with age. The gut is often referred to as the second brain, and for good reason. It controls mood, immune function, nutrient absorption, and more. With aging, the diversity of gut bacteria tends to decline, which makes the digestive system more susceptible to imbalance and inflammation. Some vegetables, especially those high in fermentable fibers or anti-nutrients, can disturb this delicate balance and lead to gas, cramping, or even bacterial overgrowth. Barbara stresses the importance of observing how your body reacts to what you eat. If you feel bloated, tired, or achy after meals that include certain vegetables, your body might be trying to send you a signal. Seniors need to pay closer attention to those signals rather than dismissing them as part of normal aging. Many times, the solution lies in identifying and removing problematic vegetables from the diet, even if they have a healthy reputation in general circles. Another factor that makes certain vegetables problematic for seniors is the interaction with medications. As people age, they're more likely to be on prescriptions, whether for blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, or other chronic issues. Some vegetables can interfere with medication absorption or increase side effects. For example, vegetables high in vitamin K can affect how blood thinners work, while high-potassium veggies can interact poorly with blood pressure medications. These are subtle but serious issues that Barbara O'Neill warns about, urging seniors to always evaluate their diet with their specific health conditions and medications in mind. Now, this is not meant to scare seniors away from vegetables altogether. In fact, vegetables remain one of the most important food groups for maintaining vitality, immunity, and digestion. But the key is to choose the right kinds, those that support, not sabotage, your health after 60. Barbara O'Neill's philosophy is grounded in real food wisdom. She teaches people how to align their diets with their body's signals, their age, and their overall health goals. So why does this matter so much? Because many health issues in seniors that are assumed to be inevitable, like joint pain, bloating, energy dips, and brain fog, can actually be managed or even reversed by making better food choices. And it starts with understanding that some vegetables may no longer serve your body the way they used to. The journey to better health in your later years doesn't require fancy pills or extreme diets. It begins in your kitchen. The average senior already has enough health challenges to navigate. The last thing they need is to unknowingly add more problems through well-intentioned food choices. That's why it's crucial to know exactly which vegetables to avoid and why. This knowledge empowers you to make decisions that align with your current state of health rather than outdated or generalized advice. Barbara O'Neill believes that education is the first step toward healing, and that when people understand the why behind their food choices, they begin to see dramatic improvements in how they feel and function day to day. In this video series, we will dive deep into the top 3 vegetables seniors should avoid at all costs, not because they are inherently bad, but because they don't work well with the unique needs of the aging body. These vegetables may trigger inflammation, cause digestive issues, suppress thyroid function, or overload the kidneys. Each of these vegetables will be discussed in its own chapter, supported by research, Barbara O'Neill's insights, and practical alternatives you can use in your everyday meals. Remember, this isn't about demonizing vegetables or promoting fear. It's about making smart, personalized choices. If a particular vegetable causes discomfort, aggravates your symptoms, or interferes with your medication, it doesn't matter how many vitamins it contains, it's not the right choice for you at this stage of life. That's why learning from experienced health educators like Barbara O'Neill can be so transformative. She bridges the gap between tradition and science, helping people rediscover how to eat intuitively and mindfully. So, whether you're someone in your 60s looking to improve your energy, a caregiver trying to support a loved one's diet, or just someone curious about functional nutrition, you're in the right place. Over the next few chapters, we'll take a closer look at these surprising culprits hiding in your kitchen, and what you can do to replace them with better options. Trust us, when you remove these common problem vegetables from your diet, you may be shocked by the improvement in how you feel. Your health is your greatest asset, and it's never too late to start protecting it. Let's begin this journey by uncovering the first vegetable that might be silently harming your well-being. Stay tuned for Chapter 2, where we reveal a popular family of vegetables that's often found in pasta sauces, curries, and comfort food, but could be a major source of inflammation and joint pain for seniors. As we move deeper into understanding how food choices uniquely impact the aging body, it becomes essential to shine a light on one of the most commonly overlooked culprits in the modern diet, the nightshade family of vegetables. While many people think of tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers as everyday staples, and in many cuisines they are, these vegetables may be silently undermining the health of millions of seniors around the world. Barbara O'Neill, through her years of natural health education, has seen firsthand how eliminating nightshades from a senior's diet can lead to noticeable and sometimes dramatic improvements in joint mobility, gut health, and overall comfort. But what exactly is it about these seemingly harmless vegetables that can cause such issues? The nightshade family, also known botanically as Solanaceae, includes a group of vegetables such as white potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, and all varieties of peppers, whether they're bell peppers, chili peppers, or even paprika. These foods are often praised for their vibrant colors, high vitamin content, and flavor-enhancing qualities. However, what most people don't know is that nightshades naturally contain a chemical compound known as solanine, a glycoalkaloid that can be toxic in high amounts and inflammatory even in moderate quantities for certain individuals, particularly seniors. Solanine is part of the plant's natural defense mechanism. It helps protect the vegetable from insects and predators, but when ingested by humans and sensitive groups, it can lead to systemic irritation. Barbara explains that one of the biggest concerns with solanine is its effect on the gut lining. As we age, the intestinal wall becomes more delicate and prone to damage. A robust, young digestive system may be able to handle small amounts of plant-based toxins like solanine without any noticeable side effects. However, in seniors, the digestive tract is often compromised. Years of stress, medication use, low-fiber diets, or underlying inflammation can leave the gut lining leaky, a condition where undigested food particles and toxins pass through the intestinal wall and trigger an immune response. Solanine can exacerbate this leaky gut condition, increasing systemic inflammation and worsening symptoms like joint pain, bloating, fatigue, and brain fog. One of the most noticeable effects of solanine toxicity in the elderly is joint inflammation and stiffness. In her lectures and consultations, Barbara often asks clients struggling with arthritis or unexplained aches, "Do you eat potatoes or tomatoes every day?" The answer is often yes. That's because these are comfort foods, found in everything from mashed potatoes to spaghetti sauces and pizza toppings. But what seniors don't realize is that their daily discomfort might be linked to these common ingredients. The correlation between nightshade vegetables and inflammatory joint conditions has been observed anecdotally by many natural health practitioners. People with osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or fibromyalgia often report noticeable pain relief and increased range of motion within just a few weeks of removing nightshades from their diets. But it's not just the joints. Nightshades can also impact neurological health. Solanine, along with a related compound called tomatine found in tomatoes, has the potential to interfere with neurotransmitter function. Seniors who are already susceptible to cognitive decline, memory loss, or mood disorders may find that frequent consumption of nightshades contributes to mental fog, irritability, or even mild depression. While these symptoms are subtle and often brushed off as just aging, Barbara encourages seniors to see them as warning signs that something in their diet might be off balance. It's important to recognize that not everyone will react the same way to nightshades. Some seniors may have no noticeable reaction, while others may experience symptoms ranging from joint pain and digestive upset to fatigue and skin rashes. The key, according to Barbara, is bio-individuality, the idea that each body is unique and responds differently. That's why she strongly encourages seniors to conduct what she calls a nightshade elimination experiment. This means removing all nightshades from the diet for at least 21 to 30 days, then reintroducing them one at a time to observe the body's response. Many people are shocked at how much better they feel without them, and how quickly symptoms return when the foods are reintroduced. A common concern among seniors is, if I cut out potatoes, tomatoes, and peppers, what will I eat? This is where Barbara's approach stands out. She doesn't just tell people what to remove, she emphasizes what to replace those foods with. For example, instead of white potatoes, which are high in both solanine and simple starches, she recommends sweet potatoes or butternut squash, both of which are anti-inflammatory and rich in beta-carotene. Instead of tomato-based sauces, seniors can try beetroot-based sauces or even create a mock marinara using cooked carrots and herbs. Peppers can be replaced with vegetables like zucchini, cooked celery, or steamed green beans, which offer similar textures without the inflammatory potential. In her workshops, Barbara often shares success stories of older individuals who were able to reduce or eliminate medications, regain mobility, or dramatically improve their quality of life simply by avoiding nightshades. One particularly memorable case involved a 72-year-old woman who had suffered from debilitating knee pain for over a decade. She had tried physical therapy, anti-inflammatory medications, and even cortisone injections, with little relief. After attending one of Barbara's health retreats and eliminating nightshades from her diet, the woman reported a 70% reduction in pain within just 4 weeks. By 3 months, she was walking without a cane. This kind of transformation isn't rare. In fact, many seniors don't realize how much better they could feel until they remove the foods that are quietly fueling their pain. Barbara likens it to a form of nutritional detective work, looking at your plate with curiosity and asking, is this food helping me heal, or is it holding me back? She believes that with the right information, anyone can begin to reverse their symptoms and regain vitality, regardless of age. Another issue with nightshades is that they're often consumed in processed forms, which amplifies their negative effects. Think about French fries, potato chips, canned tomato sauces, or pickled jalapenos. These forms are not only rich in solanine but are also cooked in unhealthy oils, preserved with additives, and loaded with sodium. Barbara warns that it's not just the solanine at play here, it's the entire inflammatory cocktail these processed foods deliver. Seniors consuming these foods regularly may experience blood pressure spikes, fluid retention, and chronic fatigue, all signs that the body is struggling to manage internal inflammation. Cooking methods also play a role. Some people believe that cooking nightshades destroys solanine, but this is only partially true. While heat can reduce solanine levels slightly, it doesn't eliminate them entirely. In fact, green or sprouting potatoes can contain especially high levels of solanine, even after cooking. That's why Barbara advises against eating green-tinged potatoes under any circumstances and recommends avoiding all nightshades altogether if you're already dealing with inflammatory conditions. It's also worth mentioning that nightshades can affect calcium metabolism, which is crucial for bone health in seniors. Some studies and anecdotal evidence suggest that solanine interferes with enzymes involved in calcium absorption. For older adults at risk of osteoporosis or fractures, this could be yet another reason to steer clear of nightshades. Barbara underscores the importance of choosing foods that support bone health, such as leafy greens, excluding raw cruciferous ones, which we'll discuss later, sesame seeds, almonds, and sardines with bones, all of which offer calcium in a more bioavailable and less inflammatory form. Now, let's take a closer look at the hidden sources of nightshades in the diet. Many seniors are unaware of just how many everyday meals contain these vegetables. Tomato paste is a common base in soups, stews, and casseroles. Potatoes show up in mixed frozen vegetables, stews, and even as thickeners in some commercial gravies. Paprika and chili powder, both made from peppers, are used in seasoning blends, sausages, and snack foods. Eggplant may not be as common, but it's frequently used in Mediterranean and Indian dishes. To fully eliminate nightshades, it's important to read labels carefully and ask questions when eating out. Barbara often encourages seniors to keep a food diary during the elimination process. Write down what you eat, how you feel, and any changes in pain, energy, digestion, or sleep. This simple act of tracking can reveal powerful connections between what goes in your mouth and how your body responds. Over time, you develop a new level of awareness and control over your health, something Barbara calls body literacy. Ultimately, the goal isn't to create fear or restriction, it's to empower seniors to make informed choices based on how their bodies truly function. Barbara believes that when people remove foods that inflame and irritate, they make space for healing, regeneration, and vitality to return. By eliminating nightshades, seniors often discover a newfound lightness in their joints, a clearer mind, and a calmer digestive system, all of which translate to a better quality of life. So the next time you're about to reach for that baked potato, pile on the tomato sauce, or season your meal with paprika, pause and reflect. Could this be the food that's contributing to your discomfort? If you've been struggling with symptoms that don't seem to have a clear cause, it's worth exploring the possibility that nightshades are playing a hidden role. As Barbara O'Neill teaches, your body never lies, it always communicates through symptoms. When you begin to listen and respond with intention, the results can be truly life-changing. When most people hear the term superfood, their minds instantly jump to vibrant greens like kale, broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower. These cruciferous vegetables are often at the top of every health enthusiast's grocery list, praised for their ability to fight cancer, detoxify the liver, and boost antioxidant levels. And for good reason, they are packed with nutrients, rich in fiber, and contain compounds known as glucosinolates, which are often considered protective against disease. But here's the part that surprises many seniors and health-conscious eaters alike. Barbara O'Neill, a respected educator in natural healing, warns that while these vegetables can indeed be beneficial, eating them raw may pose serious risks, particularly for older adults. Yes, even so-called superfoods can become harmful when they're consumed the wrong way or in the wrong form. This chapter is dedicated to unpacking why raw cruciferous vegetables, despite their healthy image, can interfere with thyroid function, worsen existing health conditions, and contribute to a cycle of fatigue, weight gain, and systemic imbalance in seniors. And as we explore the underlying reasons behind this, we'll also discover how a simple change in preparation, like lightly steaming instead of eating raw, can transform these once problematic foods into powerful allies for senior health. To begin, let's understand what cruciferous vegetables are and why they're so commonly consumed. Cruciferous vegetables belong to the Brassicaceae family and include popular choices such as broccoli, kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and bok choy. They're hailed for their dense nutritional profile, high in vitamin C, vitamin K, folate, and compounds that support liver detoxification. That's all great on paper. But Barbara has seen repeatedly in her years of health coaching that many people, especially those over 60, are unknowingly doing more harm than good by consuming these vegetables raw in salads, smoothies, or juices. Why? Because raw cruciferous vegetables contain a category of naturally occurring substances called goitrogens. These are plant-based compounds that interfere with the thyroid gland's ability to absorb iodine. Iodine is essential for the synthesis of thyroid hormones, which regulate metabolism, energy levels, and even mental clarity. When seniors consume large quantities of goitrogens, especially in raw form, it can suppress thyroid activity, leading to a condition known as hypothyroidism or low thyroid function. Now, hypothyroidism is not a rare condition. In fact, it's incredibly common among older adults, particularly women over 60. The symptoms are often vague and easily confused with just getting older: fatigue, weight gain, depression, constipation, thinning hair, dry skin, forgetfulness, and feeling cold all the time. What many don't realize is that these are not just signs of aging, they can be red flags that the thyroid is underactive. And in such cases, consuming goitrogenic vegetables in raw form only exacerbates the problem. Barbara emphasizes that it's not the vegetable itself that's the issue, it's the way it's prepared. She often says, it's not about fear, it's about wisdom. The wisdom here lies in understanding how food chemistry interacts with our body's unique needs at different stages of life. Let's take kale as a prime example. In recent years, kale has become a symbol of clean eating. It's tossed into smoothies, shredded into salads, juiced raw with apple and ginger, and eaten with the best of intentions. But raw kale is incredibly high in goitrogens. Seniors with even mild thyroid sluggishness may find that drinking green juices loaded with kale makes them feel worse, not better. They might not make the connection immediately, but over time, fatigue sets in, weight becomes harder to manage, and brain fog increases. Barbara recalls numerous cases of seniors who thought they were doing everything right by eating a raw food diet, only to find their health declining. One such case involved a 67-year-old man who switched to a raw vegan diet and began drinking kale smoothies every morning. Within months, he developed cold intolerance, severe tiredness, and noticeable hair thinning. His doctor discovered a significant drop in thyroid hormone levels. When Barbara guided him to stop the raw smoothies and start lightly steaming his vegetables, his energy began to return within weeks. The mechanism behind this lies in the structure of goitrogens. These substances, primarily thiocyanates and isothiocyanates, disrupt iodine uptake by the thyroid gland. Without enough iodine, the thyroid cannot produce adequate amounts of T3 and T4 hormones, which are critical for keeping the body's metabolism stable. This becomes especially problematic for seniors who may already have borderline thyroid function or who have been unknowingly iodine deficient for years. In fact, iodine deficiency itself is a hidden epidemic in many parts of the world, particularly among older adults who no longer use iodized salt or who consume processed foods low in natural iodine. Barbara stresses that the thyroid is like the thermostat of the body. When it's functioning well, everything works smoothly. But when it's under stress, the entire system slows down. Digestive processes become sluggish, circulation decreases, memory declines, and overall vitality is drained. And unfortunately, raw cruciferous vegetables add to that stress. There's also the issue of digestibility. As we age, our digestive enzymes decline. Raw vegetables, especially fibrous ones like cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower, are much harder to break down. This can lead to bloating, gas, and discomfort after meals. Seniors often chalk this up to a sensitive stomach or blame it on aging. But the truth is, the body is sending a clear signal: these foods, in this form, are not being properly digested. Barbara recommends cooking cruciferous vegetables not only to reduce goitrogen content, but also to soften the fibers and make nutrients more bioavailable. Lightly steaming, sautéing, or even baking these vegetables makes them easier on the digestive system and significantly lowers the goitrogenic compounds, allowing the thyroid to function more freely. Now, some might ask, do I have to give up these vegetables entirely? Absolutely not. In fact, Barbara encourages including cruciferous vegetables in the diet, but wisely. Cooking is the key. When you lightly steam broccoli or kale, for example, it reduces the goitrogens to a level that's safe for the vast majority of people. In some cases, adding iodine-rich foods like seaweed, dulse, or even a pinch of quality sea salt can help balance the effects. The goal is not restriction, it's transformation. Barbara often reminds her students that food is medicine, but like any medicine, the dosage and form matter. Raw kale in a juice might be too much of a good thing, whereas steamed kale with a touch of lemon and olive oil can be incredibly nourishing. Another thing to consider is the cumulative effect. A little raw broccoli here or there might not be harmful, but when seniors consume green smoothies, kale salads, raw slaws, and cabbage juice all in the same week, the goitrogenic load can become substantial. Many popular health trends overlook the unique needs of older bodies. What works for a 25-year-old biohacker may not be appropriate for someone in their 60s or 70s with a slowing metabolism and sensitive hormonal balance. Barbara warns against blindly following health fads without considering context. Seniors should not aim to copy the health habits of younger people, but instead should choose foods that are gentle, grounding, and appropriate for their current physiology. There's also an emotional component to this issue. Many seniors feel frustrated and betrayed when they realize that the foods they believed were helping them, raw greens, in particular, were actually contributing to their discomfort. But this moment of realization is actually a gift. It opens the door to a more personalized and intelligent approach to nutrition. Barbara encourages seniors to forgive themselves, be curious rather than critical, and begin to rebuild their health one meal at a time. She advocates listening closely to your body's signals, keeping a food and symptom journal, and experimenting with different preparations. Some people may find they can tolerate small amounts of raw cabbage in a coleslaw but feel bloated after raw broccoli. Others may thrive with cooked cauliflower but struggle with raw Brussels sprouts. The point is to observe and adapt. In her many talks and workshops, Barbara shares inspiring case studies of seniors who experienced major improvements in thyroid function, energy, and digestion simply by changing the way they consumed cruciferous vegetables. One such story involves a 70-year-old woman who had been living with chronic fatigue and mild depression for over 5 years. Doctors had placed her on antidepressants and thyroid medications, with little effect. After attending Barbara's lecture and cutting out raw cruciferous vegetables for a month, while still enjoying them in cooked form, her energy began to return. She began walking again, her sleep improved, and her mood lifted without the need for additional medication. The change was so profound that her doctor was shocked by her thyroid panel results, which had normalized for the first time in years. Barbara believes this illustrates a deeper truth, that the body wants to heal, and often knows how to do so when given the right support. Food is one of the most powerful tools we have, and with just a bit of knowledge and mindfulness, we can use it to reverse years of imbalance. For seniors, this might mean letting go of trendy raw food ideologies and embracing a more traditional, cooked food approach. Throughout history, cultures around the world have cooked their cruciferous vegetables, and perhaps they knew something we've forgotten in our modern obsession with raw equals better. The elderly are especially wise to follow this time-tested wisdom. In closing, Barbara offers a simple action plan for seniors looking to reduce their glycogen intake without sacrificing the nutritional benefits of cruciferous vegetables. First, stop eating them raw for 30 days. This includes raw kale smoothies, cabbage salads, raw broccoli and veggie trays, and cauliflower rice. Replace these with gently steamed, sautéed, or roasted versions. Observe how your body responds, especially in terms of energy, digestion, mood, and body temperature. Track your symptoms in a journal. After 30 days, reintroduce small amounts of raw vegetables one at a time and note any reactions. If symptoms return, you have your answer. And throughout the process, support your thyroid with natural iodine sources and, if needed, consult a health practitioner to check your thyroid function. Barbara O'Neill's approach is always one of empowerment. She doesn't tell people what to eat, she gives them the tools to discover what works best for their unique body. And for seniors, that often begins with honoring the fact that cooked food is not just easier to digest, it's often more healing, more balancing, and more appropriate for where they are in life. In the modern world of convenience, one of the most overlooked dangers to senior health hides in plain sight on the shelves of grocery stores, stacked neatly in tin cans and glass jars. Canned peas, pickled beets, jarred carrots, preserved green beans, foods that many believe are harmless, even healthful, may in fact be slowly harming the body, especially in those over 60. Barbara O'Neill, a well-known natural health educator, has spoken at length about the cumulative risks associated with consuming these processed forms of vegetables. What seems like a quick solution to meal prep or a nostalgic staple from decades past often turns out to be a minefield of preservatives, excess sodium, acidic compounds, and synthetic additives. For seniors, who are already more vulnerable to chronic diseases like high blood pressure, kidney dysfunction, and heart problems, the regular intake of canned or pickled vegetables can be a silent contributor to the slow deterioration of their health. In this final chapter, we dive deep into the unseen harm these seemingly innocent foods can cause, the deceptive health labels that mislead even the most mindful eaters, and the empowering, nourishing alternatives Barbara O'Neill recommends instead, because when it comes to protecting senior wellness, knowledge is the first defense, and preparation is the cure. To understand why canned and pickled vegetables pose such a danger, we must first look at what happens to vegetables during commercial preservation. In their natural state, vegetables are rich in enzymes, water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C and B complex, and delicate phytonutrients that degrade quickly once harvested. In an attempt to extend shelf life and maintain market profitability, food manufacturers rely on high-heat processing, brining, and chemical additives to preserve these vegetables. Canning, in particular, involves boiling the contents at very high temperatures to destroy bacteria and then sealing them in airtight containers. This process not only destroys a significant portion of the vegetable's natural nutrition but also alters its chemical composition in ways that make it much harder on the body, especially aging bodies. The heat-sensitive enzymes that aid in digestion are lost. The B vitamins that support neurological function, especially vital for seniors, are significantly reduced. And what is left is often a fiber-depleted, vitamin-stripped remnant of the original food, now suspended in a liquid full of salt, citric acid, or other chemical preservatives. Barbara often reminds her audiences that while the original vegetable may have been healthy, its canned version is a different creature entirely, one that the human body no longer recognizes as nourishing. Perhaps the most dangerous element in canned and pickled vegetables is sodium. Salt is used extensively in the preservation process, not just for taste, but to prevent bacterial growth and maintain texture. A single serving of canned vegetables can contain up to 400 to 500 milligrams of sodium, sometimes even more, and this can quickly add up throughout the day. For seniors, especially those with a history of high blood pressure or cardiovascular issues, this hidden sodium becomes a ticking time bomb. Barbara O'Neill emphasizes that excess sodium throws off the body's delicate mineral balance, leading to fluid retention, elevated blood pressure, and increased strain on the heart and kidneys. Seniors, whose kidneys are often already less efficient at filtering waste, suffer the most. Over time, high sodium intake contributes to kidney disease, a silent condition that often goes unnoticed until it's in an advanced stage. What makes this even more tragic is the illusion of healthiness that canned or pickled vegetables carry. Many seniors think they are eating clean by choosing green beans from a can or pickled beets as a salad topping, unaware that these foods are saturating their systems with inflammatory salt levels. It doesn't end with salt. Pickled vegetables often contain vinegar as a preserving agent, typically distilled white vinegar, which is highly acidic and devoid of nutrients. While some natural forms of vinegar, like raw apple cider vinegar, can support digestion in moderation, the acetic acid in most commercial pickled products irritates the stomach lining, especially in older adults with sensitive digestion or acid reflux. Barbara explains that the constant exposure to acidity not only weakens the stomach's mucosal barrier, leading to discomfort and ulcers, but also disrupts the body's natural pH balance. Seniors already experience a decline in stomach acid production, which is essential for absorbing nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and B12. When they consume acidic foods in large amounts, such as pickled vegetables, the system becomes overwhelmed, and long-term nutritional deficiencies can result. Combine this with the fact that many pickled products contain added sugars, artificial colorings, and preservatives like sodium benzoate, which has been linked to inflammation and mitochondrial damage. And what you get is a chemical cocktail disguised as a health food. Another critical issue Barbara brings up is the presence of bisphenol A, BPA, in the linings of canned goods. BPA is an industrial chemical used in plastics and resins that has been shown to leach into food, especially when heated. Studies have linked BPA exposure to hormonal imbalances, thyroid dysfunction, reproductive issues, and even certain cancers. While some companies have begun offering BPA-free cans, these often use alternative linings whose long-term safety is still unproven. Seniors, whose immune systems and endocrine systems are already more delicate, should not be taking unnecessary risks with chemical exposures. Barbara advises avoiding canned vegetables altogether, not just because of the BPA issue, but because the canning process itself depletes nutrition and introduces risks that outweigh any perceived benefits. She frequently cites studies showing that people who consume more canned goods have higher levels of heavy metals and chemical residues in their blood, substances that accumulate over time and contribute to cognitive decline, inflammation, and organ dysfunction. But why do so many seniors rely on canned and pickled vegetables in the first place? The answer is simple: convenience and habit. For decades, canned food was marketed as modern, safe, and economical. Many seniors grew up during times of war or economic scarcity, where canning was not only common, it was necessary. Barbara is deeply empathetic to this history. She never shames people for their habits, but instead gently educates them on how to make better choices. She understands that for some seniors, cooking from scratch seems daunting, especially when energy levels are low or mobility is limited. But she insists that nourishing food doesn't have to be complicated. It just requires a little bit of planning and a return to whole, fresh ingredients. A simple soup made from fresh carrots, onions, and lentils is vastly more healing than any canned vegetable medley. Lightly steamed broccoli with a squeeze of lemon offers more vitality than a jar of mushy pickled cauliflower. Even frozen vegetables, if unprocessed and additive-free, are a far safer alternative to canned or pickled varieties. Barbara often recommends batch cooking as a solution for seniors. Make a large pot of vegetables on Sunday, store them in glass containers, and reheat portions throughout the week. She also advises shopping at local markets, where produce is fresher and less likely to have been treated with chemical sprays. For those who truly love the tangy taste of pickled foods, she suggests learning the art of natural fermentation, a traditional method using salt and water, brine, which promotes the growth of probiotics rather than preserving with acidic vinegar. Properly fermented vegetables like sauerkraut, kimchi, or pickled cucumbers made at home with unrefined sea salt can actually support gut health and enhance digestion, especially when consumed in small amounts. The key, as always, is mindfulness. Not all preserved foods are created equal. It's about understanding the difference between nourishing fermentation and harmful preservation. Another concern Barbara highlights is the issue of appetite and taste sensitivity in seniors. As people age, their sense of taste can diminish, making them crave stronger flavors. Pickled vegetables, with their sharp tang and high salt content, can become especially appealing. But instead of satisfying hunger, these foods often trigger water retention, bloating, and increased thirst, further stressing the kidneys and circulatory system. Barbara urges seniors to retrain their taste buds by gradually lowering salt and sugar intake, using herbs like basil, oregano, and turmeric for flavor, and focusing on the natural taste of fresh vegetables. Over time, the body begins to crave what it truly needs: hydrating, fiber-rich, gently cooked foods that nourish rather than stimulate. Importantly, Barbara doesn't just focus on what not to eat. Her approach is always about empowerment through alternatives. For every canned food, she offers a simple homemade version. For example, instead of canned beetroot, she recommends roasting fresh beets in the oven with olive oil and rosemary. Instead of canned peas, she suggests lightly steaming fresh or frozen peas and seasoning them with lemon zest. Instead of pickled carrots from a jar, she teaches how to prepare a quick sautéed carrot and ginger dish that supports digestion and boosts circulation. For seniors living alone or with limited cooking abilities, Barbara often recommends working with a caregiver, family member, or even a local community cooking group to prepare healthy meals in bulk. With a little creativity and some guidance, it becomes easy, and even enjoyable, to transition away from harmful convenience foods and return to the kitchen as a place of healing. Barbara's years of experience working with seniors reveal that even small dietary shifts can create dramatic improvements in energy, mental clarity, and overall well-being. One elderly couple she worked with had been eating canned soups and vegetables almost daily, believing it was a frugal and nutritious choice. After removing canned foods from their diet and replacing them with fresh, simply cooked meals for just 4 weeks, both reported better sleep, clearer thinking, reduced swelling in the ankles, and improved digestion. Blood pressure readings normalized, and their doctor even reduced their need for medication. These transformations aren't rare, they're common, once the toxic load from processed foods is removed. Barbara believes every senior has the potential to feel vibrant again. It starts with recognizing that not all vegetables are created equal, and that their form and source matter just as much as their name. In conclusion, this chapter serves as a gentle wake-up call to seniors and caregivers alike. While canned and pickled vegetables may seem like time-saving solutions, they often come with hidden costs: high sodium, dangerous preservatives, chemical linings, and nutritional degradation that slowly chip away at health and vitality. Barbara O'Neill's advice is not rooted in fear, but in freedom. Freedom from chronic illness. Freedom from dependence on pharmaceuticals. And freedom to choose foods that truly heal, not just fill the stomach. She encourages seniors to question the norm, to read labels with discernment, and to return to the old-fashioned wisdom of fresh, whole foods prepared with care. Because in the end, every bite we take is a message to our body. And when that message is one of nourishment, balance, and respect, the body listens, and it responds with healing.